Hello and welcome to Reportage. This is Danish bin Nabi. In today's segment of Reportage, I have this wonderful new novel in my hand titled From Pasha to Pokemon, written by Maaria Sayed. Let's listen into her about her debut novel. Maaria, first explain, before I go to the book, to your first debut novel, I just want to understand, why are you interested in fiction writing? Why a fiction? Why not a non-fiction?
Why fiction? Why not non-fiction? One, I even in terms of, I also make films, but I'm interested more in fiction rather than documentary. So I think this also echoes in my writing. Though I do love reading non-fiction as well as fiction. At the end of the day, I think I'm a person who explores more human emotions through different situations and settings. And I feel under fiction, I can explore more of the characters and more of the setting. So non-fiction is like very, I would say, gives you too many rules. It tells you too many things directly, and that's not really what I enjoy. I like to go with the protagonist, enter the world, feel her feelings. So I would say probably I'm closer to writing fiction as a
And you
personality.
and you would always prefer fiction than non-fiction.
As a consumer, as a reader, I'm okay with both. It depends on what I'm feeling. But when I have to write, I actually end up picking fiction. Also, because I don't feel that, I can say things and, people are supposed to listen to what I say. But I feel that if I explore my feelings through fiction, you can decide what you want for yourself. So I feel more confident in that way.
Maaria, I completely get your point. Now to your debut novel. Explain first to me what this novel is all about.
What this novel is?
What is it? What is it about?
Okay. So, if I have to put it today, because a lot of years have passed, and if I have to look back, I think it is a love letter actually to women, to Muslims, to people who are also looking at the world beyond identity, to youngsters, to find yourself in this world, to find yourself and your identity, which is existing amidst so many political umbrellas, backdrops, people who are older than you, people in many cases who know more than you or are more judgmental than you. So it's literally like a love letter to people, to say, you can find yourself gradually. So that's the intention. And what it's about, I would say it's literally about the internal journey of this girl, Aisha, who has so many different people, opinions, so many things around her, and how she navigates without really forming an opinion, just constantly absorbing. And only when she experiences certain things gradually towards the end, she starts saying, oh, wait a minute, maybe now I can figure out who I am. So it's more of that coming of age of aspect that I hope it transpires.
I completely get it.
Okay.
So Maria, there is this character Nani Jan, which sort of fascinated me in your book. Who is this Nani Jan, and why did you feel important to write about her and her incident with the dog? Can you explain it for the wider audience?
Nani Jan is this, in my head has always been this very, very lovable grandmother-like character that, in our South Asian culture, we always grow up, whether it's been for real or it's been somewhere in our imagined subconscious, that you have this grandmother who is actually closer to you in some ways than your mother, because she can, pass those boundaries and say things which are so intimate, which your mother wouldn't tell you. So it's this strange bond that exists when, that one generation skips. So it is this lovable older woman who is imparting knowledge, imparting her judgments as well. And I think that she has a very huge contribution. So Of course, we've all grown up around grandparents, so we can understand that kind of love, affection, annoyance as well that we can feel towards our grandparents sometimes. But at the end of it, there is so much of I would say there is it's a love that goes beyond just parents telling you what to do and what not to do. You literally feel that they are they're telling you more about the world because they've lived through greater times. So for a girl like Aisha, who's growing up, as a little kid, she looks up to Nani Jan as this Wonder Woman who knows everything that she can never know herself. So she's that, encyclopedia
of every problem in her life.
Yes, yeah.
And there is another fascinating character which I was reading is about, I think, Zafar Khalu, if I'm getting it right. So, who is this character, Zafar Khalu?
Again, I mean, I can't tell you who the character is as I mean specifically, but obviously I've drawn on certain elements, certain people that I've interacted with during my life, and I find him, very interesting because he's very manly in a very non-macho way. So that was something that was always going on in my head.
You must be a character in your real life. Am I right?
See, look, I mean, I can just put it this way that I have met and known people of certain sorts. So I have modeled certain characteristics based on people that I have known. But at the end of it, when I was writing the novel, they were characters to me. So it was not exactly a person that I had in my mind.
Okay, there is another chapter. It's on the Iranian cinema, I guess. Am I right? Yes. What is that chapter about?
Well, one, I think that being a person who has grown up watching world cinema, I'm also a filmmaker. So it was a very important part that I was trying to discover about myself through my writing. But secondly, it's also about how we are viewers, we are absorbing content that is put in front of us. And sometimes, it's also based a lot on how we imagine things and how certain memories start playing. So when you're seeing a film, in part, you are seeing yourself in that film. Sometimes you are recreating the stories that were told to you through that film. So there is this I tried to bring out this very poetic realization that Aisha has when she's witnessing a film which is from Iran, a country which is so far away, but also that her grandma grew up studying Farsi. So it sort of brings her back to connect her to her grandmother in that sense. And also, I do have this, world cinema kind of interest, and that films like this don't sell as much. They are always considered parallel cinema. So I did want to explore that, however niche your stories are, you can still find yourself as a protagonist in them. So it was probably a bit of that journey as well.
So you are into filmmaking as well. And you also directed one film, if I'm not wrong, one short film.
No, actually, I've directed quite a few short films, like about 5, 6 or so, yeah.
Okay. Do you think that we lack in making these short films based on the real life?
I'm sorry, I didn't follow. Do we?
Do we lack in making these short films, which are basically based on the real life stories?
Do we lack? You mean like, do we?
Yeah.
Honestly, I think that we have such an overdose of art at the moment. Whether it's good or it's not good is a secondary question. But there are people, they're pointing the camera, they're making films, whether it's on their iPhone or it's on expensive equipment. So I don't think that people are not making films. I just feel that out of everything that we watch, what we connect to, what speaks to us individually can be different. So while I can have a lot of content around me, maybe the one that moves me is lesser and it's more limited in that sense. Yeah.
Do you think, because of the filmmaking, do you think that Bollywood now makes a good content?
I have grown up on world cinema, but I've also grown up on Bollywood films. So I will be honest with you, I don't think that Bollywood, I've never dismissed Bollywood as, of course, you have your potboilers, you have your very commercial films, you have your shit films, but you have always had beautiful films. I mean, we go back to the 50s, we go back, and I don't just mean in a very snooty way where I will say, oh, we've had Satyajit Ray, and no, of course, those are the filmmakers that, all around the world are respected. But even if you look at the 50s, even if you look at Kishore Kumar's films, even if you look at not just Guru Dutt's Pyasa, but I'm saying literally you look at the alternative cinema, the parallel cinema of the 70s, you look at some of the commercial films of the 60s, 70s, the 80s. So I think you will find good things in everything. Like even I have no problem even with like the Angry Young Man era. So even if you talk about Amitabh Bachchan films, I think I can learn something from every kind of film. So I don't have that issue in that sense.
So what is the difference now between the Bollywood cinema, which the content they are making, what we have seen in 50s, 60s, and 70s era, and presently what we are seeing now? How different do you think are these two eras as far as the Bollywood cinema is concerned?
If there is one thing that I would say, again, not as a filmmaker, but as a pure consumer, I feel that currently one is an overdose, but two is the fact that maybe there is a lack of identity in that sense. So you have a lot of things thrown at you, a lot of different versions of films, some of them very, very loud, some of them very, I would say judgmental in their approach, some of them inciting hate, some of them very funny, some of them poetic. You have a variety, but I feel like there is a certain lack of a voice in that sense. So I feel that though we still have good films, technically great films, maybe better made technically than ever before, but I have to say that currently I'm searching for something that says, oh, this really speaks to me. I mean, because, yeah, sure.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Because, you have the films that are made for film festivals, so they are clearly made to appeal to people that are not Indian. Then you have the films that are made to appeal to a certain type of Indian audience, but something that, unifies people in India, which has a distinct voice. I find that difficult right now as of 2024. I'm not finding that as much in the last 8 to 10 years. Ever since streaming has taken up and we watch all our content, I think we've lost something. This is just my opinion.
So there is a difference between that era and now.
I think so. I think it's very commercially driven. I believe now. While you do, yes, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
I said it's very commercially driven, but you also have people who will go all the way and make an independent film, because whenever you have something, you'll have the absolute opposite as well. That is true in every era, in every given movement. But by and large, if I have to say, I think it is more driven to commerce today.
Absolutely. Point well taken, Maaria. My last question before we end up this interesting and short interview about the title of the book. What is this Pokemon, the last chapter of this book, and it's also on the cover. Can you explain it for the viewers, the title of the book?
So, I mean, as you can imagine, from Pashas to Pokemon, they are two words that engulf two completely different eras. So my idea is that when you talk of the Pashas and you talk of the Turkish Pashas, we are all thinking of all these cooked up, imagined images in our head that we have read in history books, we've heard in stories, but clearly you're talking of centuries old narrative. And when you're talking of Pokemon, you're talking about something that is so technologically driven, that is driven by symbols, that is driven by emoticons, that is driven by little things rather than, grand Pashas. Because I was trying to build the association that we have with the words Pashas and Pokemon, which is engulfing this entire era in the middle. And that's why the last chapter, Beyond Pokemon, is what's going to happen next, because we are obviously even beyond emoticons now. We're entering AI and artificial intelligence now.
Maaria, pleasure talking to you. And let me hold your debut novel once again for the viewers so that it reaches maximum people, and I do hope they get it, buy it, and read it and understand your side of the world. Thank you. Pleasure talking to you.
Please subscribe to our channel Reportage and press the bell icon to remain updated.